Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. As you probably could have guessed from the title of this video, I will be landing the B-29 with the Kee Bird skin on an aircraft carrier in both RB and in Sim. Initially, I was not going to have a narration for this video, but then I decided a real quick narration with maybe the history of the Kee Bird would be a really cool addition. So more or less, just to kind of give you a little bit of background on the video itself, not just Kee Bird, I believe I made it where I landed the first time on the aircraft carrier, my first attempt in RB, and maybe my second or third attempt in Sim. And if you know Sim, then you can only use your cockpit view. So it's actually a really cool experience. And from what I'm to understand, this is one of those challenges that's just kind of a general War Thunder challenge that a lot of people just like to kind of say that they've done it. So heck, you know, if you guys are watching this video, maybe try to complete this challenge. It's actually really cool. And in my opinion, it was one of the cooler experiences I've had, at least when it comes to Sim and RB piloting, because it takes a lot of fine controls of your plane. But that being said, let's just kind of get into the real quick history of the Kee Bird, being that this is a, you know, I love doing history, and also, so you guys know, I do have a ton of history videos. I'll try to have them linked in the annotations that pop up occasionally throughout the video. Most recently, if I'm not mistaken, I did an ME262 HG series video, and I also did a YB40 video, where basically they took B-17s, took out their bombing capabilities, and just added a bunch of guns and ammo. Actually, I think they added up to a 50mm cannon on at least one of them, so really cool. Anyways, I suggest you guys check it out. I'll probably link that in the comments and the description below. But either way, Kee Bird. So basically what Kee Bird was, it was a B-29, and in the 1940s, in 1945, it was built, and it served through 47 when it crashed on an ice cap. So long story short, because Kee Bird arrived a little bit too late to really participate in World War II, I'm not sure if it actually did, but from my sources, I just kind of did a little bit quick reading on this. It did not, but again, if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below. But if it did, it really didn't have any impact, not unlike the boxcar in Enola Gay that dropped the atomic bombs on Hiroshima. Anyways, Kee Bird was used post-war as a reconnaissance plane. So planes like the U-2 hadn't been built, and really a lot of specialty recon planes and spying planes, and especially obviously spy satellites, had not been built, had not been developed yet at this point. So they used B-29s, because B-29s at that point in world history were among the highest flying planes in the entire world, essentially. So what the Americans did with Kee Bird specifically was they designed it for long range flight. So basically, where the bombs would have been in the bomb bay, they placed fuel tanks instead of bombs. So it gave it between a 20 and 26 hour flying time. The mission that Kee Bird was assigned on for its last flight ever was only supposed to take up to, and when I say only, I mean only in terms of military terms, but it was only supposed to last around 20-ish hours at the very most. So being that this was a recon mission, Kee Bird was under orders to be in radio silence so as to not give away the mission to the Soviets, by which they were spying over the Arctic Circle essentially. And being that it was in radio silence, they could not say, hey look, we've got no fuel. And that's exactly what happened. So on the way back, they ran out of fuel. They landed on an ice sheet in Greenland, and believe it or not, the plane was totally fine. Outside of, I mean, some structural damage, of course, some minor damage on the bottom, but it was relatively okay. And all the crew survived this landing. It wasn't so much of a crash landing as it was a controlled landing on an airfield that wasn't really an airfield, but rather an ice sheet. So what happened was, because this was a classified mission, the captain had taken an axe to all of the classified equipment inside of Kee Bird and burned some of it as well. So what happened was, I mean, they basically just were able to leave it there on the ice sheet for more or less about 50 years. So they were all rescued. They had enough clothing and food to last around 2 weeks, and they were eventually rescued. But what happened was, this plane was just sitting there for about 50 years. Fast forward to 1994, and aviator Daryl Greenmeyer, who had been an SR-71 pilot, decided to visit the wreck and found it to be in relatively good condition. So good, in fact, that he thought that it could be flyable. So over about the next year or so, he and a group of people kept visiting the wreck of the Kee Bird and outfitted it with new parts, remanufactured engines, all of that in an attempt to get it to fly off the ice sheet. And they actually got it to the point where it was taxiing taxiing. They even got it to the point where the engines were firing as it was going down this makeshift ice runway. But what happened was the jury-rigged fuel tanks began leaking gasoline on the rear of the fuselage. It caught fire, and their attempts to extinguish the fire were not possible. They just did not work, and so the plane burned down right then and there after a year of work trying to restore this thing, to the point where they were pretty much right there. I mean, they could have flown it off the ice sheet, but fate had other plans. So the wreck is still there, and so that is the story of the Kee Bird. Anyways, sorry about making this video, this audio last so much longer, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please, as always, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all on the other side. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if I've not landed in sim yet, I hope I have, so you guys can enjoy that too. Take care, everyone.